Let me ask you something real quick. If a daycare takes in millions of dollars, where should the kids be? Because apparently in Minnesota, the kids are optional. What you're about to see isn't a rumor. This isn't a theory at all. It's not a conservative spin. It's doors being knocked on, lights turned on, and nothing inside. Let's start here.
You don't have any permission to record me, period.
Can we talk outside?
You don't have permission to record.
She doesn't either have. She doesn't have permission to record me.
You cannot stop people on the street and question them.
We can ask.
You don't have any permission.
Where are the children?
I will sue you. You don't have any permission. We have nothing to do with this.
Okay. Then are there
so leave. Please leave.
Are there children here?
Please leave.
Where are the children? $2.6 million for a daycare center.
You ask whoever you think is doing that. You don't know what you're talking about. So leave.
Tell us what's happening here then.
I said leave.
We're wondering what's happening.
We are not a childcare. We are nothing to do with it. We're common people walking. And
yes.
You are.
We're not accusing you. We're asking where the children are at.
Don't ask me anything.
We're not accusing you. We're asking the daycare centers.
I am not going to answer. You have.
Where are the children at?
Leave.
We just want to know where are the children.
Who you work for?
My name's Nick Shirley.
Who do you work for?
I work for myself, Nick Shirley.
Okay, what are you recording?
We're wondering where are the children? $2.66 million for
You're not talking
the
to
Minnesota
right
Child Care Center.
You're not talking to the right person.
Are there children that come here? Answer the question. Are there children? There's no children inside the building.
This is the part they hope you never see. Not spreadsheets, not paperwork, not politicians talking in circles. Just a simple question. Where are the children? Licensed for dozens, funded for years, paid millions, and somehow building is empty. No toys, no noise, no kids. And that's not an accident, y'all. That's a system failure. But I want y'all to wait. It gets worse because once you realize it's not just one building, you start wondering how deep this really goes. And that's when the story jump tracks.
Daycare centers, we're trying to find a spot for our little boy Joey, but we thought maybe we could check him in the autism center because none of the daycare centers are open. Yeah, and how many kids do you guys have at this autism center?
I can't give you a number now.
Like more than 5?
Probably, yeah.
Probably, so you don't really know?
Yeah.
What do you guys think about like the fraud that's been labeled on the autism centers here? What do you guys do think about the fraud, or how come the autism centers are popping up?
I can't answer.
What news? Are you a news reporter?
My name's Nick. We're doing a little documentary trying to find little Joey a spot to put himself in one of these centers here, because there's...
So why are you asking us about
the fraud? Yeah, because we want to make sure we're going to a legit business if we're going to bring our little boy Joey here.
This is not a Joey spot. Yeah. But that's our number, and you have to call. But this is we can't let you guys do so.
Okay, thank you. So once again, little Joey, he can't even go to daycare, and now they won't even accept him if he has autism.
And again, no kids. Couldn't tell you how many kids they serve.
After being able to provide no evidence of them actually being an autism center in a place where a child could go, they shut the door and we headed to the next fraudulent daycare center that was just around the corner.
We're on to the next location.
Now, first off, I have to give a huge shout out to Nick Shirley. Last video I did, I failed to put his handle inside of the pinned comment. And he deserves all the credit in the world. By the time this is uploaded, I definitely made that edit. But now it's not just daycares. It's autism centers. I want y'all to let that sink in. Programs meant for the most vulnerable kids in our country. You know, pulling in millions with no patience, no staff, and no answer. This isn't sloppiness. This isn't paperwork errors. This is money moving with zero oversight. And the crazy part, it wasn't even hard to find. Which brings us to the part nobody can explain. They can't explain this away. Because now it's not even journalists saying it. It's regular people.
Massive fraud is going on here in the state of Minnesota, especially in Minneapolis. Explain to me what's going on with the daycares.
So one of the things that I've noticed is there's an exceptional number of childcare centers that are set up mostly in Minneapolis, but also in St. Paul. And I said, wow, how many kids are there in the Twin Cities? Some of them are by my office, and I would watch, and I said, well, there aren't any kids there. And I'd go to another one, there aren't any kids there, and I'd see just some Somali guys outside smoking cigarettes. So I stopped at one of them, and I said, hey, I'm just wondering, I've got a grandson who's looking for childcare, and I wonder if this might be a good facility. And they said, no, we're all full. And they had the door open, and I looked, and there were no kids. There was like a couch and a table with a couple chairs. And I said, well, are the kids out back playing, or what kind of place is this? And the guy said, you go. And he almost pushed me out the door, and then he followed me down the street to my car. And that's when I said, wait a minute, there's something going on here. And that's got to be maybe 5 years ago. This fraud is so massive. When the dust settles on this, it's going to be found to be the largest fraud in the history of the country and probably the world. It's that big. The ones that I've gotten data on, they average about $2.5 million a year, and a lot of them will say they have anywhere from 80 to 120 children. I've been to literally 40 or 50 of these childcare, and there never has been a single child at any one of them ever. Morning, afternoon, evening. Some of them say they're open till 10 o'clock at night. I go there in the morning, I go there in the afternoon, I go there at 9 o'clock at night. Nobody, there are no kids there ever.
Excuse me, y'all, having some camera technical issues. Anywho, 40, 50 different locations. Morning, afternoon, and night. Not one child ever. This is the point. You're not watching fraud. You're watching a business model, right? You got buildings collecting checks like it's monopoly money, practically. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. I'm telling y'all that. And that's when the question finally becomes completely unavoidable. Get this loaded up here. Not, is this happening? But
Here we have 2 child daycare centers. We have the Minnesota Child Care Center, and then we also have Nuna. Between the two, 2.66 million.
Where are the children? It says you have 102 children here, and you got $2.66 million this year in funding.
So Minnesota has active licensed daycares and healthcare companies on paper, pulling in millions of taxpayer dollars, some tied into a $1 billion ecosystem. And when Nick Shirley, the YouTuber, showed up, no kids, no patients, no explanations, just buildings collecting checks like it's fucking monopoly money. So there's only 2 questions here that matter. Where's the money and where are the children? Because if you're cashing checks for childcare with no children, that's a 5-alarm failure of government oversight. Normally I don't tag these puppets, these politicians. Yeah, but that's not happening on this one. There's no way in fucking hell that Tim Walz doesn't know about this shit. None. This happened under his administration. With regulators asleep at the fucking wheel, rubber stamping licenses like they're fucking handing out Halloween candy. You don't run a state where ghost daycares pull in millions up to billions and then act shocked when people start to ask questions. You motherfuckers can find out if one of your citizens owes you 537 punk ass dollars. This is about fraud, regulatory negligence, and political hypocrisy once again. Because these same fucking politicians will lecture you about morality, taxes, and accountability, while their own systems hemorrhage taxpayer money with zero fucking verification. What kind of Stranger Things bullshit is this? Nick Shirley didn't invent this. And the dude he's with, David, he didn't imagine the shit. The licenses are real. The money is real. The absence is real. So, Tim Walz, instead of speeches and slogans, how about some fucking answers? Who approved the licenses? Who verified the head counts? Who looked the other way? And who the fuck is going to prison if this shit is even half true? Because if the government can't tell the difference between a daycare and an empty building, maybe the real fraud isn't just the money. Maybe it's the leadership. So Minnesota, heads up. Y'all go follow the reporting. Demand transparency. This saga isn't over. It's just getting uncomfortable.
that line right there, where's the money and where are the children? That's it. That's the whole story. Because, if the government knows where the money went and they still don't know where the kids are, that, then that isn't just negligence. It's permission. And somehow, after all of that, they still had the nerve to laugh.
I'm a Minnesota Somalian. Of course I live in a big house funded by United States taxpayers.
I'm a Minnesota Somalian. Of course we have the most luxurious cars.
I'm Minnesota Somali. I'm champion border. Hi.
I'm a Minnesota Somalian. Of course I married my sister to come here.
I'm a Minnesota Somalian. Of course I tell the government I feed 3,000 kids for no reason. Did you get the bill yet? Hey, of course I'm a Minnesota Somali. Of course we live in Minneapolis, nigga. Hey, get the
One.
I'm a Minnesota Somali. Of course I got 12 siblings. I don't even know half of their names.
One.
I'm a Minnesota Somali. Of course Minnesota Somali was promised us 3,000 years ago.
Hi, Trump. I'm back so much.
I'm a Minnesota Somalian. Of course I live in a big house funded.
This is the part. That's the part that, you know, should make your blood boil, not just the fraud, the mockery, because when people start joking about taking advantage of taxpayers, that tells you one thing. They don't think anyone's coming. And right on cue, the defense shows up with no evidence, not answers, but with gaslighting.
Went to Minnesota just to pocket watch. And then on top of that, put out misinformation. But that's what I'll be saying, like, bro, like, y'all say, like, this is getting out of hand, bro. We will not accept this. We will not tolerate this in the state of Somalia. I'm sick of these people, bro. I'm sick and tired of them, bro. They stay hating on us, bro. For what, bro? Like, leave us alone. So you mean to tell me you went all the way to Minnesota just to pocket watch? And then on top of that, put out misinformation.
Boom. Notice what's missing. No denial of the money, no explanation of the buildings, no mention of the kids. Just basically stop asking questions. Sorry, that's not how accountability works. Not in America. So naturally, you'd expect the Department of Justice to step in, right?
Why hasn't the DOJ made a statement on what Nick Shirley found in Minnesota? Why haven't we heard a statement? It has been 24 hours and his video on X has 48 million views. You are telling me that nobody at the DOJ has seen that yet? And don't give me the crap where, oh, it's a weekend, it's a holiday. I don't care. We have had zero accountability from this DOJ. We keep finding out about things. We keep knowing what's going on, what happened, what these people have done, and then nobody gets arrested. There is no accountability. So I don't care what day of the week it is. Why aren't they making a statement? And I am not saying they need to come in and be like, we are arresting everybody. They could at least tell us that they're doing an investigation. Because if Nick Shirley found that much fraud in one day, which was like, what, 110 million? Just imagine how much bigger that number will get when they have teams of investigators looking into everything that's going on in that state and that has gone on. I want to see accountability. Why are you silent? It's been 24 hours, not a peep. Is anybody else really getting fed up with this?
Yep.
I sure am. I am so fed up with it. And if we don't start seeing accountability, I don't know how many of us can just, keep holding it together with a smile on our face. Let me know your thoughts in the comments.
Tens of millions of views, national coverage, clear evidence, and silence. Not even a press release, which tells you everything you need to know. But once the truth gets big enough, even the gatekeepers can't ignore it anymore.
So this is Quality Learning Center. I meant to say Quality Learning Center. We've arrived to ABC Learning Center. All the windows are blacked out. I would like to check a child in the daycare.
Why?
Can I speak to a manager? I would like to see if I could bring little Joey, my son little Joey here. Is there paperwork or can I check out the daycare?
You got $2.66 million this year in funding and $2.5 million last year. We're just wondering where the kids are.
Hello, we'd like to ask where the money's going.
Wow. You're right.
So
that
good.
was the old good journalism. By the way, Fox Digital reached out to that learning center to try and, get a statement from them. And apparently the number doesn't even work. So we did not get a response there.
Well, and we're talking too, some of these different places where you visited and collectively have received millions and millions in state funds. And, I watched the 42 minutes and good for Nick Shirley. And he also was accompanied, I'm forgetting the gentleman's name who was with him, who's done so much research in this as well. The man you can see right there with the papers, who's done just as a citizen, a concerned citizen flagging this, realizing that there's big issues. So it kind of raises a question too. If concerned citizens were flagging this years ago, and then, why did the government in Minnesota?
This is what happens when citizen journalism outworks legacy media. Shout out to Nick Shirley. Shout out to Fox, because they finally said what everyone else is too scared to say on the other side. And once it hits national TV, is no putting it back in the box, I'll tell you that. And that's when the final domino falls, y'all.
Kind of immigrants that you do want to see in America?
They certainly contribute. Yeah, I want to see people. Yeah, I want to see people that contribute. I don't want to see Somalia. I don't want to see a woman that marries her brother to get in and then becomes a congressman, does nothing but complain. All she does is complain, 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 and yet her country's a mess. It's one of the worst in the world. Let her go back, fix up her own country. Somalia, yeah, and I was right about it. I started complaining about Somalia long before the scandal. The horrible things they're doing to Minnesota, it's incredible. They have an incompetent governor there, too. The Democrats are running some bad ships.
Speaking of ships, kind of immigrants that you do want to see in America?
Look, you don't have to like Trump. You don't have to like conservatives, but you should care about this because this isn't left versus right. This is working Americans versus a system that treats your money like free candy. No kids, no answers, no accountability. And until that changes, the fraud doesn't stop. So if you made it to the end of this video, I want you to comment, where are the kids? Because we need to hold these people accountable. And I want to know, who actually stayed awake for the truth. Y'all be safe. Go check on a friend today. You can quite literally be saving their life. Peace.